And now I want to turn it over to Mr. Burke. And he'll talk about the window stickers.
All right. Excuse me. See if my voice holds up here. Hello, nice to see you folks all together. It's a nice little crowd here of 20 people. How many members do you have in your group?
About 250 round numbers.
350?
250.
350. Wow. Yeah, we've got a whopping 68 in our group here. So we're not quite up to that scale. But we're in a small town, so what the heck. Anyway, I am here today to talk about some things that have to do with online safety, including a couple of things that are not necessarily widely known and have been changed a bit over the years. So I'm going to share a screen and we'll see how things go. So I have a screen up. Everybody can see my screen, I assume. Oh, you know what? I did the one thing I always forget to do. I'm going to kill it for a moment. I'm going to start it again. And this time I'm going to, oops, I'm going to do one additional thing. I'm going to click on share sound. I forget I have a video in here, I think. So I'll say share now. All right, now, if I have a video in there, you will be able to hear it. All right. Well, anyway, I'm J.B. Burke. I am the, as is so often the case, I am the president for life of the Prescott Computer Society. If somebody else wants to take it over from me, I'll give it up freely, but nobody is lining up at this point. I've been in here for quite a long time. Our group has been around since 1988. So we have been running for quite a while. So, oops, somebody coming in there. Remember the good old days back in the 50s and 60s, how our lives ran? Our banking was at a check, you had maybe a book to keep track of your deposits, and you might have some certificates for any stock you might have had, safe deposit box to keep stuff in. But your desktop was kind of nice and clean. You had a telephone, maybe a Rolodex, maybe a picture of the family, a notebook, kind of a nice, quiet thing, just kind of a casual situation. But now, oops, wrong way. But then came the internet, and the World Wide Web let us see and do everything. And we're all aware of this. I mean, all of a sudden we had passwords, and I still see a lot of password lists like this. I go out and help people with their computers fairly often. I see password lists like this fairly often. People will pull out, oh, here's my passwords. I've got these all right here, and there'll be cross outs and no, try this one, no, try that one. And literally everything, access to everything, but our desktop is now quite different. Of course, this is the old days desktop. Whoops, I think people need to put themselves on mute because we're getting some weird loud noises there. We're seeing tiny computers, flat screens, things that take up much less space, which is nice, and laptops, which are more compact. But all that was followed by everybody wants your stuff. I was reading an article a moment ago, got somebody in Cambodia who was just, the FBI just seized $15 billion worth of Bitcoin from someone who was doing a pig butchering operation, hitting people up for their money and their Bitcoins for nefarious reasons. The guy is at large, but they got $15 billion worth of Bitcoin pulled out. So a staggering security slash is creating tough questions. Well, let me go back there for a moment. Anyway, the U.S. government is calling for a 10% cut on spending in civilian cybersecurity. That doesn't seem like the right move for right now. I don't know why the government would say that, but I guess in some ways I guess it's worth to saving money no matter what, even if it costs us money. But it's well over $1 billion in security-oriented programs being eliminated. Um, Security threats are escalated. These cuts could weaken the defenses on a national level. Underfunded state and local organizations will have to take over from these federal cuts that are taking place. Not sure that'll work. And here's a link to where that is. So you want to take a look a little more and see what these cuts really mean. But this is a bad start for a program about cybersecurity and protecting yourself online, to find out that you've got less protection from downtown. So anyway, what is online security? Keeping your personal information, accounts, and devices safe from fraud and misuse. Of course, a tremendous amount of this is all on you and on me personally, but scammers target seniors like ourselves because we're thought to not have the appropriate wherewithal to, for two reasons. We may not be as technically competent as the younger folks, and we've got resources that we've accumulated over time. These guys don't go after the 21-year-old that's just starting out in life that has $50 in the bank. That doesn't work there. And cyber crimes can lead to stolen money, identity theft, misuse of personal data, all kinds of stuff. And we are prime targets. What can be lost? Well, just about everything. Personal information. We all the time about these breaches of databases where people's serious social security numbers and date of birth and so forth are stolen or are leaked online and stolen on the dark web. Financial assets and information can be stolen, including brokerage accounts, bank accounts, private messages and emails, and reputation. You could lose your reputation this way if your identity gets stolen and put up in bad places. The types of online threats: phishing scams, fraudulent emails and messages, malware and viruses, of course, that damage your computer, identity theft when someone steals your personal details, and rogue websites and ads, fake websites or pop-up ads. Now, all of these so far, when you look at these, they're all things that we are responsible for protecting ourselves from. We are largely responsible for having the right tools in place and for being personally capable of not clicking on things and not giving away the information. There was one the other day I saw where a woman who was going on a cruise, and on Facebook she posted a ticket of her cruise that was going to take place, and that was picked up immediately and scammed. So she ended up ending up losing money and various things. But posting things like that, posting "I'll be away on a wonderful vacation from October 15th to November 12th," not a good idea, because all of a sudden your house might be seen as being empty for that time. So it's up to us in a lot of ways. So the types of scams, one of the ones that comes up all the time, and we've had people in our group, in our small group, who have gotten dinged for a large amount of money for having fallen for these. Fake pop-ups or calls claim your computer as a virus. Just heard about one just the other day. Somebody called me and said, "It's on my screen right now. What do? I can't get rid of it." I said, "You know where the power button is on your computer?" And they spent a moment coming up with that and said, "Yeah." I said, "Hold it for 10, 15 seconds. Just keep holding it until it's completely shut down, and then let go and then start up again, and it won't be there anymore, but you'll still have to figure out where it came from." Scammers ask for remote access or payment to fix the issue. I know one guy in our club said, he was a 90-plus-year-old guy. He said that he had lost over $1 million to somebody that he started giving some money to on one of these scams. So the thing is that they're 100% fake. So no matter how real they look, no matter how they doctor it up, no matter how it looks on the screen, if it comes up and it says, "You've got a problem, click here, call this number, do this or do that," 100% fake. Don't think about it as, "Oh, maybe this is the one that's not." No, that's 100% fake. So don't do that. So we will move on. and get rid of that one. Types of online threats: phishing and smishing, uh, text messages or emails. Look official from banks, government, etc. They trick the users into clicking on links or sharing personal info. Artificial intelligence can now make these messages sound better. I suppose some of these messages in the past that we've got that we could always count on having grammatical errors, a lot of that won't happen now because the AI, if people put this through AI, those grammatical errors will get fixed and things will come through looking much more real. So we got to be careful, even more so than in the past. So types of online threat: government impersonation scams. Scammers pose as IRS agents, police, or court officials. So many of this are always the matter of, they won't come at you on email. They'll mail you something, and they won't call you typically. It'll be all just via mail. Threats of arrest or fines unless you pay immediately. I had one come in one time for my son when he was younger and said, "Oh, yeah, this is we're calling. We've got a police report on him." Turned out to be just phony. They were just trying to get a hold of him so I get some money out of him. Real agents never demand payment via gift cards or cryptocurrency. Never, never. Cryptocurrency and investment scams. Any of these that come along, these are probably all fake. Promises of high returns with little risk. Victims are charged fees to withdraw, or the money vanishes, which is probably more likely. And they're rampant on social media. Social media is one of the more dangerous things in the world. If you use something like Facebook, only use it for dealing with your family and so forth. Anything shows up in the way of news or offers or mail or anything like that, ignore it. It's the worst place. It's the least reliable for news and almost the least reliable for everything except family to family. Types of online threats: once again, fake shopping and charity sites. There are websites, if you want to give to charity, there are websites you can go to that just do a Google search or a DuckDuckGo search and say, what are the reliable websites for charity? And you'll come up with places or several places online that review charitable organizations and tell you what percentage of the money they collect goes to the actual cause they're selling. I mean, if they're collecting, if they're putting 50 cents out of every dollar to the charity and 50 cents for collecting money, not a good charity. If they're 90-10, 95-5%, that's a good charity. They often pop up after disasters or during holiday seasons, but do your own research. Don't pick the ones that say, oh, here's one that'll give you a good place to donate for that disaster and so and so. Pick your own charity sites. They may steal, the fake ones may steal your credit card info or never deliver whatever goods that you're shopping for. Do your own online searches. Some real life type examples of online scams. Your bank account has been suspended. Click here to verify your information. I'll see another example of that in a few minutes. Online shopping scams, fake websites. Personally, I pretty much stick with Amazon and eBay. Don't much do anywhere else. Tech support scams. We see a virus on your computer, call this number to fix it. We already covered that in great detail. Trusting nature. Why they target us? Seniors are often seen as more trusting and may not suspect a scam. And that's really the case. If you've got other relatives that are not in your club, but maybe totally ignorant of computer things, try to keep track of them. If there's anybody that you know that you think might be vulnerable to this kind of stuff, perhaps maybe reach out to them and see how they're doing and make sure they know some of this stuff. Lack of awareness of seniors don't recognize the scam tactics. You guys have been through this before, so you'll know some of these things already. Inexperience with technology, of course, that's the other thing. So those are all things that we can look at as being something to keep in mind. What consumers can do: checking breach statuses. Use sites like I've been pwned to see if your email has been turned into unknown data links. So if you go there to that website, put in your email address, and it'll tell you what the most recent use of your email might, if it's been online recently in any of the breaches. big banks and credit card companies and everybody are having that happen fairly frequently. Freezing your credit. This is hard to see on the screen. That's a link there. I need to fix that and change the color of a couple of these links. Freeze your credit. Keep your, for all three credit bureaus, keep your credit on a frozen state all the time. Guys like you and I think, don't typically need to get access to our credit accounts very often. Only unless if you're going to go and buy a car or you're going to buy a house, getting a loan or something at a bank, then you need to unfreeze your credit so they can see it. And you can do that briefly and then have it refreeze. In these places, you can always just tell them, take the freeze off for 24 hours, 48 hours, and then put it right back on. So your credit should be frozen on all three credit bureaus. And that link will take us there to show us how to go about doing that. This is how to place or lift a credit freeze. So that information is there. Enabling your monitor, sign up for free credit monitoring. There's paid services and there's some free services, especially if your name is in a credit loss. You might be getting an email saying, here, sign up here for a year of free credit monitoring from some bank or from some credit card company. So do that. Or sign up for one of the paid services. I signed up for one and I'm going to leave it in place for a while. Watch for phishing. There's some information about that. Each of these links takes us to another place that has a little more information about phishing and so forth. So this is from a site called The Intelligence. And locking down accounts, turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere, especially if you've got bank accounts, credit cards, investment accounts, and your password manager. They should all at least have multi-factor authentication turned on, so you don't just have a password in there to get you in there. And there's a link to the whole section down there. There's an interesting one I ran across. It's called Snitcher Space. Analyzes an email you sent it and tells you if it seems likely to be a scam. So if you get an email and it looks pretty real, you're just not quite sure, you can forward it to scan@snitcherspace.com, and it will do an analysis. It may take 15 minutes or so to get back to you on that, but it'll send you back an analysis of that email and tell you what the likelihood is that it's a scam versus a genuine email. So it's and they delete the emails after they've scanned and doesn't store or email or share any manner of personal information. So it looks like this. First time you send something to it, it'll say confirm your request. Like anywhere else, they want to send you an email to make sure it's really coming from your personal account and not from a bot somewhere. So you confirm your request, and then then the next thing is once you've done that, you get the email analysis. It'll go all the way through a generic greeting, suspicious sender email, vague policy violation. It'll tell you all these different things about the email that you forwarded. So it might be a good place to go and just have it in the back of your mind to send emails to in case you think they're a bit phony. All right. Look out for emails or messages that ask for personal information or ask you to click on a link, obviously. Look out for anything that says act fast. We don't like to act fast. If that says act fast, wait till the next day. Don't click on links in emails. Go to the website directly. Don't use a phone number from the message. If it says, here's the phone number for the Wells Fargo Bank, look it up online or go to your account, go to your Wells Fargo account if you have one and get the phone number from there. Don't use their phone number. Check for funky URLs, universal resource locators. That's your www. If the bank site is usually mybank.com, don't fall for mybank.com with this letter here. This looks like an A, but it doesn't look like that A. This is a Latin A, not an English one. There's different alphabets in different parts of the world. So this is something that's very careful. You have to be very careful about. If you're using a password manager to log into your accounts, it won't let you log into an account with a bad link like this. It'll use the real links. Look for sneaky swaps like lowercase l and capital I. So here, Google with this here looks like Google, but it's not. That's a capital I. This is a lowercase l. See how careful you've got to be on some of these things? Watch for extra words or dashes. Verizon.com is not the same as Verizon-help-login.com because the last word in the link is the one that counts, unless it's Verizon and ends with Verizon.net or Verizon.com. Otherwise, it's not Verizon. Spot the weird endings. If it's got .click or .online, .xyz, .info, that's probably not real either. So these are Kim Commando tips to spot fakes. Beware of doubled up letters. If letters like this, double letters. Ignore random security warnings in the URL. Some scam sites toss in words like secure or SSL to look official. Check for missing letters. This can be difficult if you're in a hurry. Instagram without the A or Facebook without the E might be something you wouldn't notice. You just go ahead and click on it because it looks right just from a glance. But if you're paying attention, you're reading through this stuff. And see, the time it takes you to read through it, that's when you're protecting that bank account. You're protecting your retirement. You're protecting your house and your resources. Don't trust subdomains. Things like Amazon.fake update. Oops. What? Sheesh. Good grief. I had my hand on something there. All right, sorry about that. I will talk to this hand later about that. That was unnecessary. All right, so watch out for things like this with Amazon dot fake update or something like that, or Wells Fargo dot login verify.net. These are not real. As long as the real domain is at the end of the URL, wellsfargo.com, amazon.com. All right, safe online shopping tips. Look for the S in HTTPS. Make sure that's there. That means it'll be encrypted from end to end. Use credit cards instead of wiring money or debit cards. Debit cards never safe, really. Use credit cards because you're limited to your liability there. Avoid unsolicited offers. Don't trust Amazon random emails offering unbelievable deals. For your Wi-Fi and your devices, how many folks have a separate router? Anybody there, you have separate router besides your modem? No? Don't see any hands. Okay. Yeah, there's some. Okay, so make sure when you get that router and you set it up, you go in there and you set up the password on it for yourself. You set up your login passwords and everything. Make sure you got a nice strong password. Make sure you're set up for encrypting your connection so that people in the next house over won't be able to get online to your computer. Because to this day, everywhere I can bring up my list of Wi-Fi logins, and they include the people on both sides of me, and we're pretty well separated here. So if you're in an apartment or someplace that's close by, especially, I had a situation where I was in Chicago many years ago, and I was working for a company in California. I was in Chicago, and I was at my sister's house, and I was sitting out on a patio at her house after working hours. But somebody called from California where it was still working hours. My sister's Wi-Fi wasn't very good. I went onto my computer and I logged into the Wi-Fi of the people next door because they had an unprotected Wi-Fi. I didn't do any damage to their system, but I used their network connection for an hour's. Oops, I did it again. I used their connection for an hour's worth of work, and they didn't know it because they didn't have a password set on the router. So you need to do that. Change the default password and install updates. Check your router every once in a while for updates. Everything should be updated. Your Windows, whatever operating system you're on, that should be updated. Your application should be updated, and your router and software. Your printer has got software should be updated. There's a lot about DDoS attacks taking place right now based on the Internet of Things, the IoT. People's refrigerators and routers and printers and various things have been compromised by people who have gone in and put in code into them to send out messages. And so there's been somebody talking about that they would be able to send trillions of bits per second to overwhelm the network based on tens of thousands of these Internet of Things with obsolete passwords, obsolete micro software, and not updated. So update everything you can, especially if you've got a smart home with a lot of stuff. Update that. What to do if you receive a scam phone call. There's no text, no volume to this one, but constantly change their methods to stay ahead of law enforcement. Simple rules to follow. You're encouraged to hang up the phone and try calling the agency of the caller to verify legitimacy. Keep in mind that scammers will usually request money in unorthodox ways. We looked at that already. If you've been scammed, you should immediately report it. This is important too. If you've gotten threatened with a scam, even if you didn't lose any money, you should report it to the appropriate authorities. Report it to your bank, credit card number, Federal Trade Commission. Freeze your credit. I've mentioned this already. You should have your credit frozen. That wouldn't take that long, but you should log into each of the 3 credit bureaus and freeze your credit. This is one of the major things where people can get information about you and they can get your credit information and scam you. Monitor your accounts. Check statements and transactions regularly. Every time you get that credit card statement or your bank statement, look at it to make sure there aren't even just little tiny things on there that shouldn't be, because that could be a hint of something big coming. Here's a script for reporting scam. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but there's 3 or 4 pages in here talking about what you do. If you've had a scam, you want to take detailed notes down about what it was, the date, the time, what it appeared to be come from, any emails or addresses or anything else they give you. So make a detailed note of that. So if you report it, for instance, to the local sheriff and they say, well, you really need to report this to the feds, then you want to have the exact same information to both of them. So there's some details here. A lot of it, thanks to Judy Taylor, who put together this particular part of it. What the premise is, what their requested actions, the actions you took, the conclusion, desired outcome, and so forth. So read through this, have this, maybe print this part off when you get the material, and you can use that for taking care of anything, if anything comes along in the way of a scam, that you can report it effectively to help protect people down the road from that same scam. So gather your evidence, report local to the police, report to federal agencies, protect your family and finances, request your identity be added to the NCIC identity theft files if you have problems on there, send follow-up documentation to the police and so forth. Recover and rebuild, contact the 3 credit bureaus to let them know if fraud has taken place against you. So here's again where you want to get involved with the credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, to report any fraud that has threatened you or taken place for you. And then under federal law, as a scam victim, you can receive free fraud alerts, block fraudulent info, limit liability, credit cards fraud limit to $50. That's why you use that instead of, when you're shopping, instead of using debit cards or anything else like that. You use your credit card because that's where you've got a limited liability. And most of us, $50 won't send us to the poorhouse. All right, privacy tips. Review privacy settings on social media. So go into your Facebook or anywhere else, Instagram, whatever. Make sure only trusted people can see your posts. There's tons of tons of stuff in Facebook, I know, and the others probably as well, where they have the ability to set your privacy settings. They probably don't want you to do this because they'd like you to use the thing more and more, but set as much as you can. Avoid oversharing. I mentioned this already. Don't put personal details anywhere. If you can affect don't put your phone number, your social security number, address, any of that kind of stuff up there. Minimal personal sharing. And one person I heard one time that suggested that if you're going to set up a Facebook account, set it up with a phony name and then only share it with people you know via email, and then nobody else will be able to tell online who it's you, that's Joan Smith or John Doe, and just share it with your friends so they'll know where to go. Check for data breaches. These things like what I pointed out, have I been pruned, to check your data has been exposed to a hack. Update software regularly. There are some good ways to update your software regularly. Not only your operating system software, that should be updated regularly. I got a Windows update today, so they're coming regularly. I'm on Windows 11 right now, and then your app software, your application software as well. There's a program online, a free program called Patch My PC that you can download, and it will run that, and it'll go through and check and see which of your apps out of a very large number. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers a very large number, and it'll tell you which ones need to be updated, and it'll do it for you automatically in the background. Same thing with the Windows store. If you've got apps that have been installed from the Windows store, and you'd be surprised how many apps on your Windows system are from the Windows store. If you go in and open up the Windows store from that little shopping bag icon, and go down the lower left corner and click on My Apps, and it'll go and show you what's there and what needs to be updated. So that's a very easy way to do it. Beware of unknown links and attachments, and use antivirus software. Make sure you've got good antivirus software. Windows 11 and 10 have gotten to be very good with their own built-in antivirus now. So most people don't need anything extra beyond what Windows 10 and 11 offers. And she says, "What are you doing on the dark web?" And he says, "I forgot my password, so I'm looking it up." That's a sad state of affairs, to have the only way you know your password is by finding it stolen and posted on the dark web. All right, more key steps to protect your accounts. Use strong passwords. Combine letters, numbers, and special characters. We know about this for a long time, but avoid using names or common words, and enable two-factor authentication. Adds an extra layer of security beyond just a password. But now, one interesting thing that's come up in recent times, the National Institute of Standards and Technology of the federal government explicitly states that password length is the primary driver of strength, not the number of ampersands and pound signs and uppercase and lowercase that you've got. It's the length of the password. It's the most important. So an 18-character password is more powerful than 17. 17 is more powerful than 16, regardless of their structure. So complexity rules, they can add a little benefit, but not a tremendous amount. So their passphrases up to 64 characters for maximum security. So every additional character roughly doubles the possible combinations for a brute force cracking significantly harder. So brute force cracking is somebody running a computer against one of your accounts. Say they find the name of your account, and they think you've got $100,000 in there. They like to get a hold of it, and they go in and they put your password, your user ID in there, and then they start running this brute force software, password after password after password, to try to get your password. And each additional character doubles the possible combination. You'll see in a minute what that looks like. 16-character lowercase password has about 91 bits of entropy. That means that's millions of times harder to crack than a 12-character one, even with added symbols. It's a measurement of how unpredictable and therefore how unguessable the password is. That's entropy. So complex requirements often lead to predictable patterns. See, it's like password 1 exclamation point. That's easy to remember. Type that in. You got a capital P, you got a 1, and you got an exclamation point. You've passed most of the requirements for most passwords on most accounts. They say, well, give us at least 8 characters. Got to have at least one uppercase, one lowercase, and one lowercase, and one number and one special character. You've passed it all right there, but it's a worthless password because it's too easy to guess and too easy to crack. So passphrases composed of random words or sentences are easier to remember and stronger than short, complex passwords. So security pros insist and now revise think length, not complexity. So in this case here, this where I keep my money, 14 plus characters is much stronger than something like banking spelled with an at sign and an I and an uppercase G and so forth. Here's the link to that article talking about that. So adding uppercase and lowercase numbers does help entropy, but its benefits are minor compared to adding length. The best balance, use long 12 to 16 characters that include some variety to make up for what the requirements are for your website. So it takes a while it takes how long it takes a hacker to brute force your password, to brute force by guessing with a computer running. So it looks like this. If you have a 4-character numbers and only, pretty much instantly, all the way across, even with numbers and lowercase, if you said, 4 characters, but all different, until you get down here, say to 12 characters, numbers only, 3 months to crack it, lowercase numbers, lowercase letters, 27 years, 111 million years. And down over here, lower right hand, lower left, 18 characters with upper and lowercase and so forth, 463 quadrillion years. So you're likely not to get cracked with that password unless you give it away. Now, if you have lost that password somewhere and it went online and it got sold to somebody on the dark web, or somebody has captured it because you've somehow gotten hacked, how long does it take to get you then? Well, if a password has been previously stolen, uses a dictionary word, or has been reused between websites, the time to crack it drops dramatically, as shown in this chart, which is that no matter it doesn't make any difference what it is. If someone's got your password, they got your password, and they just use it. All right. If your password is kept safely and it's long and it's hard to crack, you're good. If it gets out in the word and you haven't changed it, every now and again you'll get a notice that says, this password has been lost, has been stolen at some point with, the XYZ Corporation's data loss. Change that password. You don't want that password floating around, especially if you've used it for more than one place. So that's just that. Okay, comparing traditional passwords. Passwords 8 to 15 characters, complex, hard to remember. Passphrases 20 plus characters, simpler, memorable, and usually stronger. So longer equals stronger, and phrases give length and memorability. And that's what we like in passwords. Passphrase strength. When you talk about password strength, adding 1 character isn't just a little better, it doubles how long a hacker would need to crack it. 12-character passphrase can take thousands of years to crack, and it's far easier to recall. That's why we say length is your strongest defense. Now, here are some passphrase generators. Here's one that has been put up by Mark Schulman of APCUG. He does presentations. He may have done some presentations for you guys in the past. If we were to go to his website, you'll see that he's got a password generator up there, which is quite simple to use. So we wanted memorable, easy to type, evil, number, character. Evil will give us those ones full of pound signs and at signs and garbage like that. But we want to say it's easy to type, say. What do we get? Well, let's say memorable. Say memorable. We're going to say we want uppercase, lowercase, digits. We want these special characters because that's what our current bank account is asking us for in the password. Because frequently, when they ask for a password, they'll tell you what special characters do you have to use. So we'll say we want it to be 16 characters. So he came up with way.include ampersand 5496. It's got a capital letter, it's got period, it's got ampersand, so it's got numbers. But that's not a bad password to remember. That password is a good one. If we just do it again, now we go up with sure much task $3. There's a nice 16-character password that's reasonable to write down, reasonable to keep track of, reasonable to type in if you don't have a password manager, which you should. But there are several of these password generators out there that you can take a look at and use those to generate your passphrases for future use. Here's some password strength testers. So let's go back to that one. Well, let me just go back over to the website. Let's take this one here and we'll copy this. Copy. And then I'm going to go to password strength testers. So let's pick this one in the middle, Bitwarden password strength. How long is my password? I put that one in. That says that's a strong password. Estimated time to crack centuries. Okay, so now we've generated a strong password. It's easy to type. We like it. We can store it away somewhere. And we can see that one of the Bitwarden, one of the major security outfits for password managers and online storage, online support, says that's a strong password that would take centuries to crack. You could be comfortable with that password. References, more password length is the primary factor. These are all ones, and you can go read all of these. I suggest to read all 5 of them in detail. And when you get done, you'll realize they said the same thing I just said. Use passphrases, use long passphrases, keep them secure, preferably in a password manager. Best practice recommendations, once again, 12 to 16 characters, passphrase of 3 unrelated words, mix of upper lowercase, spread them out, not bunched at the end, unique for each account to prevent breach spread. Use a password manager to generate long random passwords, and 2FA multiple factor authentication for extra strength. What is 2FA? Now, this is something you should have on all of your bank accounts, your password manager, your credit card accounts, your investment accounts, the ones where the big bucks are, the ones where you have things that really make a difference. It's your digital front door. Password is like your front door key. 2FA is a second or more lock to that door. So you have to have 2 ways to prove it's you. So it means you sign in, you put in your password, or your password manager puts it in for you. And then it says, please tell me the code that I just sent to your text message on your phone, or the code from the app on your phone. I've got an app that gives me a code in some cases, depending on how you've got it set up. Or sometimes it's a fingerprint or photo ID. So if someone gets your password, then they still can't get in. This makes it so that only you can get into those accounts. So passwords are not enough anymore. They can be too easy or to crack. But if we do what I just said, you won't have that happen. The weakest link problem, cyber criminals constantly trying to steal passwords. Without 2FA, your password is stolen, your account is open, and if you didn't know it, if your password got exposed and you had not gone to have I been pwned, for instance, to find that out, your password could be floating around out there and you won't even know it. So 2FA will take care of that. It's a layered defense. It adds a significant barrier for hackers, make it much harder for unauthorized users to access your sensitive information. It will block 99.9% of automated cyber attacks, like these brute force attacks I was talking about. 2FA will block over 99.9% of these cyber attacks. Protects against stolen passwords. Even if your hacker is your password, they'll be stopped by the 2FA. So 99.9%, that's pretty good protection. And we used to talk when I was in IBM, we want our products to be reliable 5 nines. 99.999% will be even better, but we got 99.9%. Phishing attempts trick you into giving away your password with 2FA. Even if you accidentally fall for a phishing scam, they can't get in. Okay, the pros of using it is the peace of mind. Knowing your financial, email, and social media accounts are much more secure, and it's a proactive step. So you want to put this on your social media and your email as well, 2FA. Compliance and industry standards. Many financial institutions are requiring it now. There are some systems you can't sign in without having that set up. It's recognized as best practice. Now, the cons of using 2FA, two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Most people would think, well, it takes too long, it's too complex, it's something I've got to figure out how it works, I've got to set it up, blah, blah, blah. I don't like to have to do that. It requires a small step. The time it takes your phone to get your phone, and if you got Windows, and I don't know if this works, if there's a equivalent thing on Mac, but on Windows there's something called the phone link. I'm going to see if I can bring that up onto the screen. Do you see my phone link on the screen? Is there a thing here that says messages in the middle? Can you see that? Somebody nod, yeah, okay. This is phone link. It lets me see my text messages. So if I get a request for a 2FA, it pops up on phone link. And in a lot of cases, it actually gives me a little thing on the screen that says, click here to copy the code. Then I just have to type paste into the login and it's there. So it's like kind of like magic. So this is called Phone Link. It's free. It's part of Windows 11 and Windows 10, I think, as well. So that's something it'd be good to have on your computer. That way also, not only that, but you can see your photos. You can see your photos from your phone. Here's my cat down in the corner of my room. So that's very important to be able to see your photos, and you can bring them up on the screen and copy them. So it could take a little extra work. There's a little learning curve, but you should be able to do this without a real problem. You're relying on a device, smartphone. So if you lose your phone, it's possible that you would lose access to it for temporarily. There are ways around it, but most of them have backup codes or alternative. The ones I see, most of them will say when you set up to 2FA, say, well, do you want to have a code to your phone? And how about also you could suggest a code sent to your email? So you could still get the code to your email, which would take a little bit longer, but you can still get it. So there's a way to get around that problem. Just don't lose your phone. That's the best thing to do. All right. Addressing the what if I get hacked concern. No security is 100% foolproof. 2FA reduces the risk, but it's not, it's not 100%. Common bypass methods, social engineering scammers trick you into giving them the code. You notice every time you get one of these codes, I've never seen one come that did not have a warning right at the beginning of it that says, do not share this with anyone for any reason. Do not send it to anyone. Do not share it with anybody. Just every 2FA message says that. So that shouldn't be a problem. SIM swapping, if criminals trick your phone carrier into swapping the number on your phone, that's pretty rare, I suspect. I wouldn't worry about that too much, but if you take your phone into Verizon or AT&T and tell them to do something to it, keep an eye on them, make sure they're not trying to swap, they don't swap the SIM card. Or sometimes they'll call in, somebody will call into the Verizon and try to convince them that it's you and to change the number to their phone. So that's something that's difficult to work around. You seldom hear about that, but that has happened. And then prompt bombing, if they ask you too often for the thing, somebody says, please, no, please give me that number. I really need that number. Just say no. Okay, security keys are the most secure. If you get something like a YubiKey or a Google Titan physical key to plug into your computer, the pros are extremely secure, phishing resistant. They require you to purchase a device that can be lost. biometrics with fingerprint or face scan. I've got a camera here that I can use for that. I haven't set it up that way yet. The camera I'm working on right now can be set up to do that for apps, but I haven't set it up that way yet. Cons, it's not always a second factor if it's just unlocking your device. So that's one thing about biometrics, but 2FA and MFA is the main thing. Here's a YubiKey. This is one here that the way this works is you got to have it plugged into your computer. When you get the challenge to unlock the device, you would put your thumb or whatever finger on this little thing here, and that would release that account. It says, okay, that's him. Got it. You got to have this physical key to give that information. This is the camera I've got. It works fairly well. It's not 100%. Normally right now, when I open up my computer, it automatically opens up for me without putting in my PIN number for the phone, for the computer, because it recognizes me when I sit down at my desk. Like I say, it's fairly good about 90% of the time, but about 10% of the time it says, doesn't recognize you. I'm going to maybe go back and try reprogramming it. Choosing the right 2FA, MFA to method. There's something called the Google Authenticator and Microsoft Authenticator and Authy. This works for some of the accounts I've got, where it'll go in there and it's generating a new code. These apps are on your phone. They're free. You download them. They're on your phone. And when you've set up your two-factor authentication, if it says, do you want to set up an authenticator, you tell them which one. And then you have to go to that authenticator to log in. It's generating a new code. You just open it up on your cell phone. Just click on it. It opens up and it gives you a number. It's generating a new code every 30 to 60 seconds. So you quickly type it into your login and it says, okay, thank you very much. Now put in your password and we're ready to go. It's very secure, works offline. It's not vulnerable to SIM swapping. It does require a smartphone. You need to keep the app synchronized. Text message, code sent to your phone. That's the most common at this point. That's the one that's easiest to deal with. Pros, it's convenient, doesn't require a smartphone app. But the cons are that it's less secure. SIM swapping, I mentioned that. I don't think that's very likely. Use it only if other options aren't available, but I think this is the one that's the most common at this point. And it's like I say, if it protects you 99.9% of the time against other methods, then you're in much better shape than just a password. So best practices, use authenticator apps. You set up backup methods. So you've got backup codes, secondary email. Encourage device backups and print recovery details. Choose push or biometric authentication. That'll be a thumbprint or fingerprint or a camera. Provide clear step-by-step guides to save links online. There are all these things online. There's many places to show you exactly how to do this. Encourage community support during setup. So that was 71. I'm going to do something on that slide. All right. Pertinent references. There's a bunch of links here. CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, Microsoft Security Research, National Institute of Standards. All these are references that you can go to for more details. Give you plenty of more information on all this, including AARP has some good stuff in there. How to set it up. If you want strong online passwords, get started. Here's PC Mag, among others, has an article on how to set up multi-factor authentication and safeguard your account. So these are a couple of these out here. They're step by step. If you go down, okay, so here for Amazon example, step by step, shows exactly where to click, what to do with each one. And then, okay, so there's that. That's how to do it. And then password manager. What is a password manager now? Password managers is a secure application that stores and remembers your password for you. I'll give you some more details about this as we go along. You only remember one master password. You got to keep that one master password safe and change it periodically. But just one password gets you in, and the password manager itself, from then on, it logs you into your accounts after you get them all set up. So Say you bring in a password manager from scratch, you set it up, it's got no data in it there, doesn't know anything about your accounts. The first account that you open up, so you open up your bank account, you open up your credit card, or you open up something, and and you type in your user ID and your password, and a little window will pop up and say, "Do you want to save this in your password manager?" And you say yes. And sure enough, next time you log into that account, that data is saved and it gets populated automatically for you. So it looks at the website address and it says, okay, I know where that is. I can fill that in for you. So that's how it works. You only remember one password. Examples of some of those are 1Password, Bitwarden, Dashlane, that's the one I'm using, LastPass, Apple Keychain, Google Password Manager, and so forth. So there's a bunch of good ones out there, but get one of the good ones. Get a paid one, preferably. Although some of these, if you're only operating on one computer, some of them will let you have a free version. Where you might have to pay for it is if you want to be able to use it on multiple computers, or on your computer and your tablet and your smartphone, maybe, or more than one computer and so forth. Because I've got mine so I can use it on my phone, my Chromebook, my my tablet, my Samsung tablet, my laptop, my desktop, all of those I can use it because the data gets stored in the cloud. Why bother with this? You don't have to remember your passwords. Create strong, unique passwords because all of these will generate passwords for you if you wanted to. Now, the passwords they generate are the big clunky kind that have all the extra numbers and letters in them, but you don't have to care in that case because if the password manager is doing it for you and it gives you a 25-character password that's full of pound signs and @ signs and upper and lower case, you don't have to care because you don't ever have to remember it. The password manager always fills it in. I think it's best to actually use one of the passphrase generators and then use that in your use that and populate your password manager with that. Then it automatically fills in login forms for you. It will not fill in on a look-like website. So if you had something that someone said, well, here, use this password, use this user ID, and you put it in there and you hit enter, your password manager wouldn't fill in on that because that's a phony number. If you had like that A was the wrong A or had an L for an I, works across devices, computer, tablet, phone, and so forth. And it makes your online life easier and safer. Spend a little time setting it up, get things put in there, and then from then on, things are much better. Are they dangerous? Well, they're all in one place. Your passwords are all in one place. If you forget your master password, then you're probably out of luck unless you've saved a recovery code. And the password managers always all have a way of saving a recovery code for the password manager that you can then print off and put it away somewhere. And if you lose your password for it, you can go in and say, I want to use my recovery code to open my password manager. But you need to do that ahead of time because you can't do it. I mean, if you lost your password and you hadn't done a recovery code, you'll be out of luck. Is it really safe to trust a company? Well, most companies are very reliable and very safe. And besides, your data is encrypted. So does it make you more dependent on technology? Well, you're dependent on your computer already. This is just making it a little bit better for technology, I think. The real risks, yes, it's a single point of failure. Cloud-based services can be targeted. LastPass was breached in 2022 if you forget your password, but these risks are smaller than reusing passwords or writing them down or using weak passwords. So these are risks, but they're easy to manage. Password managers work like this. Use strong password, strong encryption. Your master password is never stored on their servers. That's why if you lose your master password, you can't go to Bitwarden or any of these 1Password and say, "Oh, please, I've lost my password. Can you remind me what it is?" No, they don't know it. They've never had it. They have zero knowledge architecture means that they can't read your data because your data is encrypted as it goes up to them. And built-in support for 2FA is in all these password managers as well. So here's how it works. You create a password manager on your computer and gets stored on your computer, but then it's encrypted and sent it up to the cloud or in your local storage if you're only using one, a free version where it's only on your own computer, but it's encrypted. So it's encrypted there, but it requires your master password to decrypt it. So as long as it's not decrypted, it's just a bunch of garbage. If you look at that file, if you open it up and look at the data in there, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros that nobody could read unless they had your password. So that's why you use a strong password. You use a good long, 16, 20 character password for your password manager, but you can use a passphrase. So, and then it autofills the data. So even when it's in the cloud, up where you might think it's more vulnerable, it's also encrypted. So it is then protected. What happened with LastPass? Well, they had a data breach. Their vaults were accessed and somebody got the data. But if users had used strong master passwords, then nobody could read it. They would just get garbage data. They might spend months going through all of that, trying to find some data that was not well protected, but they would have a hard time to do that. The takeaway is use a strong master password and 2FA. That's the way to protect real world data. Pros and cons of a password manager: easy to manage passwords, strong, unique, so you can make them as long and ugly as you want if you want. Safer than writing them down, works across devices, and can store your notes and 2FA codes. You can store other stuff in your password manager besides your passwords. You can store other data in there. You can just you can put in, like in my case, I've got my main credit card stored in there. So if I go online, I'm going to buy something, and I fill in and I click on a credit card field, it'll say, oh, okay, you want to use your credit card? Put in your master password even though I've got the password manager open, it still asks me for my master password again before it opens up my credit card. So you can put other data into there. People put in sometimes all of their medical data, all kinds of data they want to store there, and it can be in there and encrypted. You can store notes and 2FA codes and so forth. The risks are centralized, need to remember a master password. You have to trust technology. Breaches can happen, but you won't lose your data if you've got a strong password. And there's a learning curve for beginners, but there's enough online how to use a password manager articles in detail that'll show you how to do it. All right. Key factors in choosing a password manager, but all of these are covered by the ones that I've talked about. Zero knowledge encryption. In other words, the password manager company itself doesn't know anything about your data. All they know is they've got this bunch of encrypted ones and zeros. It supports 2FA or biometrics. They all do that. Has good reputation and transparency, and works on your devices: Windows, Mac, iPhone, Android. All the good ones do that. And here's some trusted options: Bitwarden, 1Password, Dashlane, Apple Keychain, and so forth. So there's that. So here's some things recommended for seniors: how to use a password manager, beginner's guide in 2025 from All Things Secured. So here you go. What is a password manager? Goes all through the details, tell you exactly how to set it up, all the way through there. Use a strong master password, passphrase with 4 or more words. Enable 2FA on the password manager itself. Print recovery codes and store them safely. And consider writing down master password in a locked safe or if memory is a concern. If you've got memory lapses, I know I never forget anything, of course. Just like you guys, I never forget anything. Or wait, no, I forgot. I do forget things. So I've got a place that I keep it safely stored away that wouldn't be obvious. It doesn't say what it is. It's just stored on a form that I've got put away that looks like something altogether different. So even if someone came in and ransacked my room, they'd never be able to figure out what it was. Is it worth it? Yes, if used correctly, much safer than sticky notes or reused. Learn once and pays off for years. You lock your doors at night. This is the digital version of that on password managers. So here's how to use password managers, Consumer Reports, Forbes, CNET, and Bitwarden. All of them show you how to use a password manager. You can't say that I didn't give you enough resources how to do that. Consumer Reports, right in there, even without having an account. You could open it up and it will show you exactly, pick a password manager, sign up and create a master password, and so forth and so forth. So they're all details on all these guys showing you how to do this stuff. Some helpful resources. Seniors Against Internet Fraud. This is from BC Tech. Interesting. We'll do this one here just for a moment. BC in this case stands for British Columbia. So here we have a nice helpful website from Canada, how to get simple tech, help tech in a number of ways. So Canada helps us out. Federal Trade Commission, I hope that one is still up. So much of that stuff has gone away at this point. Okay, so that's still there. And AARP Fraud Alert. I imagine a lot of you guys are members of AARP. So this tells you what to do, stay informed, have a voice, fraud experts. All right. Now, final recap and final tips. Stay cautious because like I pointed out at the beginning, you are the #1 protection for your stuff. You are the one that's going to click on things. And almost everything bad that happens is a result of clicking on something wrong that shouldn't be clicked or typing in something that shouldn't be typed in somewhere. So you are staying cautious. Use strong, unique passwords, enable two-factor authentication, and regularly monitor your accounts and report suspicious activity. Stay safe, stay secure, stay informed. So that's the end. That's all I know. Right at that point, my brain is empty. I no longer have any content. It's all been put out. Any questions? You can all unmute yourselves now and start saying things positive or negative or whatever.
I have a comment.
Yes.
It's about the messages with errors. I read something the other day that said some of the scammers are now using errors in what they write because they don't want to deal with anyone who is smart enough to catch the errors. They'd rather deal with the ones who are too dumb to catch the errors.
That is an interesting idea, and I wouldn't put it past them. I would not think. I don't think that's an unlikely scenario because you're right. They do want people that don't have the necessary knowledge and the necessary cautions in their brains to not click on things. So he's sending, putting some of those things out. Yeah, will keep us away from it, but would let some people click right away as if everything was fine.
Well, another part of that is that when you start reading some things that even our, I guess, intelligent people write, they still produce a lot of errors in grammar and punctuation.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I run across errors in punctuation and spelling and things, and in Kindle books I read on Kindle regular novels and things that somehow didn't get translated quite right into the Kindle format. So yeah, that happens. You're right. And one of the things I didn't point out was that on a website, if you're looking at an email and it got a link in it that says, Wells Fargo Bank or whatever, if you hover the mouse, just put the mouse on that link. Don't click on it. Just put the mouse on that link and look at the bottom of the screen. In several cases when I've done presentations like this, I've used some of the examples that have come to me because I could put the mouse on that link and you look at the bottom edge of the screen and it will show you what that link is. And it can be wildly different. It can be, joeschmo.xyz instead of wellsfargo.com. but it says right on the screen, wellsfargo.com, as if that's really it. So just hovering the mouse over a link will tell you on an email what that link really is.
And another thing, yesterday I received, I told the group about this last night, but maybe there's somebody new in there. Yesterday I received a text message that was said it was from the Kentucky Revenue Service, wanting my banking information so that they could refund my tax refund.
Yep, and that would be come under the heading of smishing.
And well, I knew it was a scam because I don't get refunds from the Kentucky.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're lucky when it's something that's obviously not right, you know, if you therefore you catch it immediately. But for those who don't know about these things, like we were just talking about, you know, the stuff can slip through. Oh, look, I'll get a refund. That's great. I'll click right on that. But you got to keep in mind that something called smishing is just like phishing. They'll give you false stuff, and you get a link just like a regular link in an email on a text message, and give you just as much trouble.
And that brings up a question at the bottom of that, because that number was not in my contacts. There was a report as junk.
Yeah.
It would delete and report as junk. Who does it report to?
Well, probably to the no, this was on your phone, so probably to your phone provider, because they're the ones that the text message is going through to get to your phone.
Okay.
And the same thing for phone calls. If I look on my well, for instance, if I look on my phone link, and I'll see I'll see messages in there, some of them that never got through to my phone because it sees them as junk, and it'll show them on here. But when I see them on the phone, well, I have a Google Pixel phone, which filters out almost all, like 99% of my junk phone calls, and it filters out most of the junk text messages as well. But when you say mark it as junk, it goes to the phone company, to the provider, and that just says don't send this through anymore. This is now a junk number. I'm going to stop my share there, get myself back into normal. Any other questions? Any other comments or anything? I will send a PDF version of this along to Ben Rice, and I will make sure that gets out by tomorrow, probably tomorrow for sure. I'll send the text message. I'll send the PDF version, and then he can send it to you guys or post it on his website or make it into a paper airplane, whatever he wants to do with it. It's free from there. So any other comments, anything, did anybody learn anything from this? Is there something here that might have helped to emphasize anything? Judy Taylor always gets concerned at this point, says, why don't people speak up? And your second graders will all raise their hands and say something, but us adults, we don't so much. We don't comment. All right.
Well, we'll be providing the link to the PDF in our next newsletter.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I was just telling our members that we will post a link to that PDF in our next newsletter.
Okay, great.
And we'll put it in the newsletter.
Yeah, I'll have all those links will be in there and everything. So if there's anything that you wanted to follow up on, all of those, there's probably 100 links in that program, so you can click on any of them from the PDF file, and it'll take you right into those websites. So no typing necessary, just click and go. All right.
Well, I know I learned a little bit tonight that I'm much more interested now in using passphrases instead of passwords.
You know, me too.
Yeah, yeah, the credit freeze, yeah, yeah, that's important. Very, very important to do. I've had mine on credit freeze for the longest time, so long that a few years back I was going to buy a car, and it caught me off guard. I said, "Oh, your credit is frozen. You have to give us your credit card credit." And I had to go, and I said, "Well, which credit account do you want to look at?" One time somebody said all three, and I said, "No, no, give me one that you're going to look at. You're not going to check all three." So you just say which credit bureau you're going to look at, and whichever one it is, you go online and make sure you save the detail from that. You got to save because you'll have probably a PIN number that'll give you they'll give you to get into your account, to get into your frozen account, and you'll unfreeze it and tell it 24, 48 hours, whatever the requirement is, and then you can let it refreeze again right afterward, and then you're safe. So that's a key critical point for those of us with more than $10 in our savings accounts. Yeah.
I have a small question. We
Yes.
were talking today at lunch about this program tonight, and one of the girls had the unfortunate problem. Her husband died, and he had the face identity. And do you
Oh.
set that up before? You know, we're all of a certain age and we're getting to that position where we may lose a spouse or they may lose us. How do you go about authenticating if they're not there?
Well, when you sign up for, I mean, that's part of your 2FA, your two-factor authentication. So you've got to set up it so you've got multiple ways of do 2FA. So you would set it up for not only face identification, but say an email or a text message as well, so that they would both work. You would usually they should give you a choice of having multiple ways so that you wouldn't lose the entire thing. So, for instance, if you set it up with your text message to your phone and you lost your phone, you need to have a way of getting it. So you would set up a backup of email, for instance, say that send a code to your email. So yeah, but you'd have to do that proactively. And if it was only if hers was only set up with the facial with his facial identification, then that makes it more difficult. I don't know how you'd go around that. You'd have to, probably go through probate or something. It's unfortunate. I've got
Well,
the
could you
idea.
use another person's email? You know, like a spouse's, like I would use my husband's and my husband would use my email. So,
Yeah, yeah, you could have it set up. I've got some of mine set up with more than one email. I've got both myself and my wife's email set up for some accounts.
okay, that would make more
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
because
yeah.
sometimes you can't get them.
But also make sure that your spouse has your email addresses with passwords, so that if you're, if something goes bad and you are in trouble, you need to have the ability to log into their email and get the information first. I have in mind that for if either of us pass away, my wife or myself, um, we would go into our joint accounts, which we have all of our accounts set up as joint accounts, and do a real quick transfer of everything, whichever direction necessary. Leave $5 behind or something in the account before it gets up to the point of probate or anything like that. That's what I would do as a one quick step. And you need to make sure you've got the passwords and everything. I've got a document, a significantly large document that my wife will get. We'll have all the stuff about logins for all kinds of accounts and everything that she'll have to reference when I'm gone. Judy Taylor has a great presentation on that, on your digital security, your digital, what does she call it? Your digital, anyway,
Decluttering,
pardon me?
digital decluttering.
Yeah, yeah. Because you want to have all this information stored away so that your significant other can have access to what's necessary when you're gone. Because there are things like people have big accounts, full of music that they've purchased online, and maybe videos they've purchased online, things that are digital assets that you need to have access to if you want to keep it. If your spouse has spent a lot of money on that, or your partner. So let's see, I'm looking at some here. I'm looking at some notes here. It's an Apple account. You can submit legal documentation, death certificates, etc., to get a deceased person's account. Yeah, and yeah, there's things like this that you want to set up, get ready for ahead of time. There's also Medicare fraud. On their third Medicare card because of it. I never had to pay anything with Medicare, was charged for services I did not get. Yeah, people are using fraudulent. You have to get your Social Security number stolen. There are people using that for getting fraudulent Medicare payments.
Ooh, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Got some homework to do.
Pardon me?
We have homework to do.
Yep. And maybe for a future meeting, set up Judy Taylor to do that one on your digital life, if you will, so that
All right,
all right.
thank you.
If that's it, I will say goodbye.
Thank
and
you.
I
Thank
will
you
log
so
off.
much.
You're welcome.